All right. You do an intro?
Not really. Do we have an intro?
Where's my comic?
Where's my comic? Dude, where's... You like that name?
Where did I leave my comic?
Yeah, exactly. Where's the comic?
Where did I put it?
Where's the comic discussion?
I put it in my brain because I read it.
Because we read it. Yeah, welcome to Dude, Where's My Comic?
And if you read the title, it's probably, you could tell we're reading Hellboy, Right Hand of Doom.
Yeah,
well, we actually
that's a
made
good one.
A grave mistake last week, and we failed to give a rating to Batman Year One.
That's true. Though I will.
This is great. I love this. We have more people eating.
Why can get past the mic once he's done eating?
I'll go read in a long time.
No, but to talk about the 6-star rating system, my girlfriend did say that it is her now preferred rating system because she's like, it works better. She's like, it's too many numbers.
Oh, do you want the breakdown, Jackson?
Well, sure.
I've spent many hours.
I'm not
Prepare
really
to get fucking stupider.
I spent a lot of hours in the lab perfecting this system, and it's 6 stars because with 5 stars you can't have an average unless you go half star.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And if you're going half star, then you might as well rate things on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah.
But I just chose 6 stars because you can have an average rating with 6. It's 3.
You're like the guy.
That's like, is that an average or is that's just half? I guess.
Yeah, it's
average.
like the average. Would be like,
she took umbrage with the fact that the 5-star system has like you have to in order to split it in half.
Which
It's
is real.
2.5.
I hate the 5-star
star.
system. It
Yeah,
sucks.
the 6-star
Who was like,
system-
we can figure it out with 5. But that doesn't mean I just think like, yeah, put an extra star on there.
What's
That ought
gonna
to solve everything.
I mean,
Trailblazer.
that's why our math's in like base 10, because we have 10 fingers, so you're gonna kind of break things down by how many fingers you can put up.
Show us your fingers.
but 10's too many. Like
You a Navi?
if I'm rating something, 10's too many. I don't want to rate something out of 10.
which is wild, right? Like,
That's too many numbers.
it's not even that many.
So like a 6 out of 6, that doesn't feel that good,
No.
But it's kind of
6 out of 6 is like perfect.
Saying that
Yeah.
like
Oh, well,
elevates
yeah, that's
the
like
medium.
a perfect score.
makes
Yeah.
me feel like I am hanging out with my nephew. That when I rate things 6 out of 6.
Okay.
Like he's like, would you rate this out of 6? What out of 6 would you rate this? And I have to say like 6, buddy.
buddy.
Yeah,
It's perfect.
And our nephew is always 10.
Yes,
Just so we all know.
Okay.
with the standard
not an old
10-year-old.
guy.
Not an older nephew.
Not an old nephew we've got.
He's actually a child, so he would. What we're saying is you're childish for this system. I
Well,
suppose. I'm not really saying that. That's
you know
what
what
they're saying.
You know what?
I like the system.
It's a great system. It's the best system that's ever been invented. Everyone loves it.
I
So, like,
believe that
I've assigned
About it.
we've all talking about it.
Everyone's speaking on the new 6-star system.
I've assigned values to each star. 1 star is like that was bad. No one should read it.
Okay.
2 stars.
Are you worried
stars-
it's too complicated?
I did.
People aren't going to know what is like the worst and what's the best.
Well, we don't know the faculties of our audience here, so I'm making it really clear for them.
My
apparently
issue
Stoner podcast
with this system, a little too reductive. You know,
Reductive.
a little too reductive.
I
You're
will
you're taking pages of art and pages of words, and you're turning it into numbers. Yeah. All right.
That was Jack's issue.
All right,
Also, I will
Alon.
say the first 10 minutes of our first episode were spent talking about this 6-star system before we got into the comic. So I'm down to keep going with this.
It is entirely it's entirely vibes.
Apologies
based.
for my having missed that. So we don't have to go over the 6-star system.
No. We need to have this.
So
We should
we'll
do
begin,
it each pod, right?
We'll
But you guys rate Batman Year One right now.
4 out of 6. That means it's good.
I would say if you're interested in a classic telling of the Batman, whether he's not having to punch space dragons and sneak past Superman, read it.
It's too long. It's too many words.
It's been too long since I've read it. For me to engage in a rate would be, again, it's already an act of criminal reduction, and to do that without having read recently, something I refuse to do.
4 out of 6.
Did not read, so it's a 0 out of me.
DNR.
What would you rate Batman Year
I
One?
didn't read it either.
There you go.
I'm picking a binary system.
Speaking your,
This
you gotta
is
stick it to
not
your mic.
going to be on the mic. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing binary because I feel like whenever someone rates something, it's either
best ever or worst ever.
Agree. I railed against that
unless you
in
use,
episode 1.
Unless you use the 6-star system.
Yeah.
I'm shaking with fury right now. So I'm going to give it a 0 star in binary because I didn't read it.
Nice. 0.
We're just choosing systems that are confusing.
Worst ever.
People are going to have to watch the podcast.
I wish I could give it -1 star.
That falls outside the range.
It does. Yeah.
Discounting the fact that
That is the point, is that once you have a binary system, -1 star doesn't fit into the range at all. So 0 is bad, 1's good,
I'll
and
think of a
then
new
-1.
You could do a qubit system.
Yeah,
you know?
you can. We need to
do
go back to
octal.
qubits.
Yeah.
You know what we also need to go back to is Hellboy, the right hand of doom.
The right hand of boom.
The right
more
hand
like
of bringing the boom.
boom. That's what I'll say.
we bring the boom to you. Now, a considerable amount of this comic I noticed was not specifically about his right hand, and more Mike Mignola drawing just various vignettes of stories, which, I mean, that's what Hellboy is, but I really wish they had obviously delved more into like the lore of Hellboy in this comic, you know. And he even writes that in like one of his little like side comment things where he's like, I wanted to show that it was important, but not exactly what kind of important. Though I do feel like it gives it up a little. It's like it's a key. I'm like,
pretty
okay,
important.
yeah,
Yeah.
like that's pretty. Like it's a key that opens the gates of hell. And I'm like, yeah, okay, you did tell us what it was. He's like, there's not a lot of secrecy there.
Yeah,
I
but
like
what,
how tiny his feet are.
but what about the pancakes, though?
I do like the pancakes. I like the fact that he's like, man, these rock. And then all of hell is like actually pretty concerned because they're like, oh shit. Like,
we lost him, boy.
yeah, oh shit, we lost him to the pancakes.
I don't think he wanted to play the guitar or anything.
Does he have goat legs? What's wrong with his legs?
They're just tiny.
They're just tiny. He just has originally
Doesn't do leg day.
he drew Hellboy as like a he did, I think he did have pig legs or not pig legs but goat legs originally. He was like a pig man devil looking guy. I have some
Anyone ever
sketches
seen
of
his
him.
legs, or are we just speculating?
They're normal.
I feel like they're pretty commonly seen.
They're just very small. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like
very
the-
top heavy.
Well, like originally Mike Mignola drew him as like a gorilla type guy, like a pig head,
Like the goon.
with kind of
Yeah.
like the goon.
Also colored by the same guy. The colors are probably my favorite part of this.
Yeah.
The pencils are good.
Oh, does little boy like the colors?
Yeah, I mean, what's a comic book other than just like a little picture book for babies?
Yeah.
Like the
That's a good point.
the shade, like Hellboy is
I
one
have
of
a
my.
PhD in this, guys, for the audience watching.
I will
You can't have a PhD.
I will say
comics.
Yeah,
one
PhD in action figures too.
one really cool thing about
Pretty hard dick.
Mike's art is that like he uses black pages and then fills
Yeah.
in, so all of his negative space isn't white; it's actually just like black. So he's able to like fill in those spots, so everything with color like really does pop. It's
Really
a super
pops,
cool, interesting way that he does a lot of his pencils. So
Yeah, and my favorite thing about reading a Hellboy comic is every single character that you look at in the panels, they look evil because of the choice. Their faces are
Fishman?
just like covered in shadow. Even Abe Sapien, who is
Yeah.
probably the best guy ever, he looks evil.
Yeah, for sure. He doesn't have pupils. Who gives a hero character eyes without pupils?
Makes him look more alien, which he is.
He's not.
He's not an alien.
He's a
Well,
fish.
more alien, which like he is compared to a normal man.
Yeah, that's true.
You saw a normal man without pupils, you'd be like, "That's fucking weird." You see like a fish man without pupils, like that's weird, and he's a fish man.
that
Fish have
makes sense.
pupils.
Not all of them. Not the blind ones.
Not the ones like super deep in the ocean where there's no light.
They don't
There's
need
no point to
pupils.
it.
They might have them.
Ain't no point to the damn pupils.
is there a fish cataract surgery? Sorry, I shouldn't take the mic for something.
Hey, drag the blobfish back up from the depths as he's getting crushed by the air pressure of being on the surface. He's
imploding.
like, please fix my eyes so I can see one last time.
I'm glad I was able to see the sun. And then he just squishes into a pile of goop.
Does Abe Sapien ever like dive really deep in any of the Hellboy comics? Because I feel like there'd be like some cool like bottom of the ocean shit that you could have Abe Sapien do.
You'd probably need to be in one of those pressurized
Pressure
suits.
suits.
You know?
Wow.
I think he's in PPRD too, so
Yeah.
maybe there.
I think Abe Sapien even has his own run for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the notes before one of these comics, I think it was before the Right Hand of Doom. He said he wrote that one after doing an Abe Sapien solo run. So he has his own comics.
Oh yeah,
I like that Mike Mignola or Mignola. I don't know. I like that he, instead of being like, "Yo, the devil's the big bad," he's like, "No, it's the dragon Ogdru Jihad,
Yeah.
the crystal from beyond our galaxy."
yeah. It's
And also
very
an Arab name for some reason.
It's very Cthulhu.
Yeah,
For sure.
He like and Mike
Way ahead of that.
Yeah, and Mike Mignola loves to take little bits from just like folklore all over the world, like the King Vold Norwegian folklore.
Oh yeah, that was my favorite
Yeah.
aesthetically.
Can we go back to the fact that Jack said he was really ahead of Lovecraftian
Modern Lovecraft resurgence. He was way ahead of it.
He wrote this before 1910.
Would there be anything more chthonic than that?
would Lovecraft like Hellboy?
No,
Probably not.
You'd have to.
it's too
not
inclusive.
racist enough.
He's like, I thought that another color for me to hate.
There's a lot of fun Nazis though.
So reductive.
I have to hate a red and a blue guy now too.
Interestingly, I don't know if you guys know this. Near the end of Lovecraft's life, he seriously regretted his racism from early on, and he starts a lot of his letters are written to like other racist men, where he's like, "Guys, I think we were wrong."
Gentlemen,
I mean, obviously, the shit he writes is very racist.
You
some
see
of
the
it,
movie
but, like,
Sing Sing, folks? Oh my god.
that just kind of make me like. That's always my. Whenever I hear somebody that makes good stuff, that is like
was
unempathetic
very-
as a
yeah.
man, as a person, I'm always like, how did you do this? But it makes sense that he's writing horror stories that are about other races. You're like,
Yeah.
all right, well, this is how it would happen. You know, none of your main characters are particularly like. I don't care about them. I'm interested in the horrible things that invade.
I was on-
Lovecraft's xenophobia plays into a lot of his stories in the sense that it's like a fear of the unknown, and the other is literally his fear of like his black neighbor.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what he's doing over there. And apparently, in the latter half of his life, he wasn't like destitute, but he did have to like kind of scrape by and like live in like an apartment or something. Maybe that was in the first part, but all I know is that he had a lot of black people around him, and he was not a fan. And then he wrote a lot of books about that. But apparently, it turns out he turned around.
I mean, my thing is like, this is all contested, and like a lot of this is coming from like the
Lovecraft truth movement.
I was going to say the Ask Philosophy subreddit, where like
much
where
more
like I mean,
coherent.
A lot of overlap there.
they posted sources, but then you have all the Lovecraft stands that are like, yeah, dude, he turned full anti-racist, like, and I'm like,
He was a hero.
I don't think he really completely turned that all around.
no, I
You
think he
don't.
was still racist. I think he was just like, man,
We were wrong about the blacks or whatever.
or maybe I shouldn't have been as racist, right? Like,
That's such a weird way to be racist. You're like, I wish I could have turned that back to 70%.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
don't get me wrong. I'm still
Like
racist,
my
guys.
grandpa.
yeah,
We just might have overdone it.
might have overstepped. Yeah,
You know what's odd is I did meet some people the other day who did have a cat that is named the N word, but with a soft A.
Who are you hanging out with?
I was not a fan of hanging out with these people specifically.
Yeah.
I wish to be out of there as soon as possible.
You were like, and they're a really chill hang.
Yeah,
That was all cool until he told me the name of his cat. I was like, "Ooh, I hope you're writing some really good literature right, in your off time."
I hope that in 10 years you regret this. And
I hope you
try and
regret it in
turn
the next
around.
5 minutes, but I don't know if I can help you with that.
Did you ask for context?
I don't think
Is
I really
there
needed
context?
any. I don't think I was really.
You said it was a soft day. Like,
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it's like the modern evolution of what Lovecraft would have maybe. Well, he probably would have stuck with the harsher version.
Yeah, he would have.
That's kind of why Lovecraft Country is like cool. It's an interesting take on it. It's like, dang, Lovecraft is good, and there's this fear of the unknown. But he was a super racist. Let's delve into that.
Well, to bring it back to Right Hand of Doom
yeah.
is Mike Mignola's depiction of Japanese people in heads. Is it too racialized?
I felt a little uncomfortable with that and with the dialogue. I'm like,
I will say those are actual like Japanese yokai. Like as far as like he was like being like, oh, those things, but
I felt worse about
you
the
can draw them
dialogue.
better for sure. It's
I felt a lot worse about the dialogue than the hands or like the heads,
Yeah, and
I find that like
He doesn't speak Japanese.
How are they?
Yeah,
Are
I
they
just,
speaking
like-
English to Hellboy?
it's a shitty trope of like, how do we think a Japanese person that doesn't speak English would sound? And they're
Yeah.
just like,
I have some ideas.
well, like
I have some L's and
Everybody's got a
R's.
little.
Let's hear him.
as a counterpoint to that, like this is one of the few comics that I've actually seen any sort of folklore outside of America depicted with any accuracy.
I
So
appreciate it.
at the very least, criticism is valid, but also I think some praise at the very least for like I'm going to represent all these different cultures. Like where else have you ever heard of King Vold?
Criticism
never.
is more than valid, Tripp. Criticism is all that there is.
It's true.
all we
All
six-star
praise.
ratings.
Praise is also criticism.
Well, I wanted to levy some praise on Mike Mignola because I think his sense of humor also comes through despite
Yeah.
the dark nature.
yeah, he's
like
like batter up.
Yeah, when he hits the head away,
that was cool.
or like the monkey. Everybody loves the monkey.
The monkey was
is,
awesome.
The monkey.
I'm so happy that we finally got to see Monkey with a Gun
monkey
panel
scene.
because it was like seeing all of like that out of context for years
Yeah.
was just like, all right, what the fuck is happening with like this Hellboy thing? And then you see that and you're like, oh, a guy turned into a monkey and now he's shooting them.
Now
It's
he
like,
just has a gun.
okay, no.
It almost makes too much sense that I was
Yeah.
kind of disappointed by it.
Because it feels
'Cause
like
it
it
wasn't
shouldn't have
random.
become a meme. It was like, no, that's a very logical way.
Following, the plot of the comic, you're like, oh yeah, of course.
Or like we go to the vampire one that we read, and he's like, "What'd you do? You put the whammy on me."
Yeah,
Stakes
I
her
love
through the
that
heart.
line.
I thought that was.
I
pretty
didn't.
funny.
That didn't make sense to me. How did he escape? Did he just wake up from the dream all of a
He
sudden?
snapped out of it.
Yeah, I guess he just locked in. Yeah.
Locked in.
Hey, locked
Yeah,
in.
he
You really
lo-
put the
he-
whammy on
He
me.
dunked his face in the
Yeah, he
the
dunked his face in
sparkling
the
ice water bottle.
he dunked his face in the, and then he also got the banana and rubbed it all
Yeah,
over
he
his
rubbed the
face.
banana on his face.
Yeah,
He's
that
like,
was-
this vampire put the whammy on me. She got me.
Had a 4-minute dive.
I like that you can see him becoming a better writer. Like, remember the first one we read? Like, there was just like a bunch of like 90s action movie dialogue. Like, we're going to have to drop in at 0700 hours with our strike team. And I was like, I don't need to read this. This isn't helping me understand anything. I'm here to look at your sweet drawings. But he's really like, there's a lot less words in this.
There is so few words.
I
yeah.
will say one thing that I like. Mike Mignola's whole thing is like, I think that he found out that people were reading him for his art. Like the art is such a good part of this, and then like you kind of have a lot of these like dialogue things where, like in previous Hellboy comics, there would be like 2 or 3 pages that did not have any new art and would be redrawing characters shot
Yeah,
reverse shot, and so you were like, well, no, I'm here to like see like different versions of this whole thing. Like this is awesome. And so I think he's like really toned that down as he like continues on his like Hellboy journey.
Yeah, more efficient storytelling and more use of the art to convey the plot.
More atmospheric storytelling. He lets the panels do the exposition for him.
That's the panels bring.
Though I
the
do
boom.
wish some people would say like 3 more fucking words. I'm like, just give me a little bit more context for what the hell's happening here.
I kind of like that he keeps it vague because it like every single comic Hellboy just shows up. He's like, "What the fuck is going on here?"
What do you want me
we're
to do?
we're gonna take care of a spirit wolf from King Vold. All right, cool. We're gonna do that, I guess.
I figured I would have to punch somebody at some point along this. Wasn't really sure though.
Yeah,
I like his name, Anung Un Rama.
Is that when it's first revealed?
No,
No, yeah.
for in like
Oh, yeah.
some of the earlier. Yeah, pretty cool guy, Mike Mignola. Seems like.
You guys remember seeing the... I'm sorry, what?
No. Yeah, he's a cool fella.
No,
Really
keep going.
seems like a cool
It's
guy.
probably true.
You guys
He does-
I got a
remember-
bit here. 1 sec.
Okay.
You drove it out of my head. All right, fine. What do you want to say?
Do you guys remember the one where they're like looking at the script and they're like, this is the earliest recorded writing of the right hand of doom, and just there's just
Random
instead of
ass.
a word, it's just a giant fist being drawn.
yeah. And then Hellboy's like, "Yeah, Professor and I used to use this as our secret language."
I know
with
how
each
to
other."
read this, and it's as if that they were like, whoever was writing it was like, man, there's no way that they're gonna understand how crazy this right hand
Like a
is.
big fist.
I gotta draw a little picture.
It's a big right hand of doom, man. Do you see that right hand?
To be fair, if I feel like I don't know, what words do you have to describe this? I feel like if like if I was from like 2,000 years ago and a fucking like drone came down and shot something, I wouldn't have the words for it. I would just draw the thing, right?
That's wild. 'Cause I would say metal lightning hawk.
That is not even close to accurate.
All of
I get
those
it.
You would
words.
say that
immediately.
yeah.
Well, I mean, if I had to tell somebody, I'd be like, "This is what it was."
Oh, in a fucking
You get laughed at in the cave, buddy.
in a pre-Iron Age civilization, so it's bronze or copper.
Yeah, fine.
A copper hawk.
Rock lightning hawk. There you go.
That's even worse.
I'd say copper black paint lightning hawk.
This is a certified pictographic language gang classic right here. I'm drawing that shit.
Is the rest of Lemurian pictographic? Because that seems like it'd be really unfortunate.
That's what I'm saying.
to-
It's not. It's just this one word. In case
Okay.
they were like, just so we know he's talking about
or
the
was
same
it?
guy.
Or was it the drawing of a fist and there was words around it?
Yeah,
that
that's
could
what
be
it
Yeah, I
was.
think.
think.
Yeah, I was
how I
like,
feel
I
about
don't think that's supposed to be the word.
Yeah.
I think there's like words around it that call it the right hand of doom.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
I
That-
do like
that
that I
does
was
make-
stupid enough to
You guys,
think that it was part of the sentence.
You didn't realize that the words were the right hand of doom?
Yeah, do you know how you can tell? Because I just admitted that.
you guys know.
Listen.
You guys know the song.
And I'm the one with the baby brain, huh?
Nice.
The one with the baby system.
You guys know the song.
Your brain is great, which is why I'm so upset about this system. It's like if Einstein was like, look, I'm
No,
making
drop
feces
it.
sculptures
No, that would.
now.
It'd be like if Einstein said God doesn't play dice at the end of his life, and then he wasted years of things that he could have been theorizing about actual things, and instead he's just like, whatever. Like I'm gonna see if I can disprove.
It's just
this
God.
whole rating system.
Yeah.
That's you. I'm more like
I'm
Einstein.
the rating guy.
What song? What?
You guys know the song "Red Right Hand" by.
Oh, yeah.
What,
kept
what-
thinking about that.
Yeah, I know. Let me finish what I was going to say though. I would have if I had made this, I would have had that song. You know those cards that open up and play songs every single page. Dude. Yeah, and then you get to the end, it's like red right hand. Yeah, that would have been way cooler than whatever he did. But yeah, he was okay. It was
Probably
pretty
would
good.
have made things a little more expensive.
Yeah.
Just
One of-
$50
Just greeting
trade.
card fucking song play.
One of my favorite things about the Hellboy comics is how Hellboy is just like generally not able to change what's happening around him.
Yeah.
Most of the time, he's just like a passenger
Also not that
in his
strong.
own fate. He's not that strong.
He doesn't have much of his own agency in a lot of ways in anything that he really does. He just kind of knows how to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the counter to that is he has the ultimate agency.
Yeah.
Because
yeah, it is.
because
Not
he-
evil.
well, because he has the opportunity and ability, and in fact, the destiny to destroy the world.
Yeah.
And
Worst
he's-
Yeah.
superpower ever.
and just kind of doesn't really want to for any
He's-
reason.
he's
like
got-
He can also punch really hard, Tripp. Did you
with the
think
right
about that?
hand he can. And like later in
Punch
the Hellboy
holders.
comics, that kind of becomes the theme is that like, you know, Hellboy's just kind of a prisoner to fate, so he has to figure out how to find like meaning in that. Because he does like spoilers, he does bring about the end of the world in the comics towards
Oh,
the
it's
end.
huge.
Not to me.
Jeez.
Not to you.
Not to me. I survived.
Yeah,
All right.
built different. Yeah,
I'm different though.
Come on.
Beerus.
he's got
Whose dog is
he's got kind of like Jack. You've talked off screen about the whole like the superheroes being better when you can understand their power, right? He's got
Yeah.
he's got like the Captain America strength where it's like
Yeah.
where it's like you're not gonna like you turn time backwards by spinning around the earth, but you could lift a car.
Yeah.
you know.
And you also like empathize with him when he's in a fight scene because when he's getting like pliers, he's getting like his entire like body pliers up. You're like, oh shit, that seems really painful. Whereas like with Superman, you're like, I'm sure there's like a super not feeling this right now sort of vibe that he's got going on. And like I don't know, it makes every fight that he's in feel a lot more locked down, drag out than like many of the other like superheroes that you see do. And which is funny because he's like supposed to be like the devil, so he's supposed to have like way more power than any of them. But he's just like a guy, pretty strong guy, but a guy.
I
What do
like
you think wins?
Yeah,
Ben Grimm.
Oh, Ben Grimm.
Ben
Has Hellboy
Grimm.
ever been clobbered before
Yeah,
though?
wait, is it clobbering time yet?
You think
'Cause
Ben-
It was like the whole Hellboy's whole body, but just on his,
all the right hand.
he only has it on his fist.
Ben Grimm is from Yancey Street. Okay,
Yeah, he grew up playing
He
stickball.
grew up playing stickball, and he's also a former policeman. and he's really tough.
Wait,
So,
really?
yeah.
He's a pilot.
And Hellboy's like what, like 32 years old?
Yeah, right?
and like
he's like 90.
Ben Grimm, before
No,
he got
he's
his
not.
powers, he never lost a fight. He beat up over 100 teenagers.
He lost
yeah.
a lot of fights to his brother, which in the Fan Four Stick movie, he got his like signature catchphrase from because he said because his brother would beat the shit out of him, and before he would beat the shit out of him, he would say, "It's clobbering time," and so you just have this scene of like a little Ben Grimm, and he's like just a kid, and then like the brother comes in and he just has a baseball bat and he says, "Looks like it's clobbering time," and then he just punches him.
Did he
So-
use that line on his wife?
There is
I think so. Yeah, it's well, like it was kind of a whole family. It was a whole Grimm family epithet, I suppose.
The Brothers Grimm, if you will.
That part where they looked and they were like, man, poor Ben. It's very grim.
there is like something to be said for taking power back from your trauma, but that's not the way that it's done.
Yeah.
It's the way that
The
it's done in
opposite of how
Josh
it's
Trank's.
you doing it to everyone else.
Well, the way Hellboy does is that he gives up his true name because he doesn't even see himself as that name anymore.
That was
so
kinda
it doesn't
cool.
have any power over him.
That's true. That's a
that
good
was
point.
call him?
that was actually really cool.
Hellboy.
Call him H-boy.
Well, when I was younger, I called him Heckboy because I thought Hellboy was a slur.
That's true.
Call him Anung
I didn't think it
Unram.
was a slur. I just thought I would go to hell if I did that.
She double
Me,
hockey
get over here.
sticks.
You know, this more than anything proves hell not that bad.
Yeah, it doesn't. They don't do a good job making hell seem scary.
No.
It seems like a bunch of dudes hanging out. Like, when's he gonna come back?
Yeah,
Pandemonium City,
they just
I would
gotta.
love-
They have like an economy,
right? They must. I wonder if like they get all stressed about like the price of pitchforks, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
like oh no, the sulfur. We found new sulfur
I gotta
deposits.
do at least
so
30 different stabbings, to keep up with my wages.
You know there's stabbing TPS reports. There's just like, all right, like you were off schedule like during like this stabbing thing, and you were like,
Sorry,
no,
boss,
they
pitchfork ran out.
pitchfork broke. We had a bunch of those like have been failing. You haven't been replacing our equipment. It's like, yeah, it's hell. Like I don't know. I'm a bad guy. I don't do
When are we
that.
gonna elect a new devil now that our devil is gone?
Devil's probably kicking people out of hell. He's like, look, dude, you got to go back to purgatory.
Yeah.
You're
He's like,
too,
"We're
you're too much of a
full."
threat to my power, right?
He's
Like,
talking to the people. He's like, this guy, all he did was steal. We got to kick him out of here. He's not bad enough to be in hell.
Yeah.
guy's like, look, dude, I was pretty bad. I stole a lot.
It's like you end up, at least in Dante's Inferno, you have like the rings of hell that you like get partitioned in, but like what if you do like the most? Like what if you're like, well, I don't
He's doing the most.
Yeah,
They
what if
make
you're
the-
doing the most?
They make
in
the
it?
fucking 8th ring of hell for you.
Oh yeah, they do have like the one where it's like Satan.
Tartarus.
It's like Satan, but it's like he's like completely iced up to his nips. And
It was-
he's not having fun.
Yeah,
Just
The
like
lowest
old.
level of hell was for traitors to nation. And what's funny is around the time Dante was writing,
Oddly specific.
it's true. That's what Dante thought was the worst thing to do was to
and
betray your
Judas
nation.
was there as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was.
Jesus was there.
Judas.
And so speaking of, like, there was
Jesus was there.
at the time there was a big debate in the church about like what do we do with usurers? Because there were a lot of people, like, believe it or not, the church was a very usurious institution, and on top of
gift.
that, like, you don't want to kick merchants out of heaven because they have all the money. So you gotta get merchants to give the church money.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of things coming out that were like, look, usury is bad, obviously, but it's not a mortal sin anymore. And if you just say I fucked up and give your money to the church, well, you're good. And then Dante was like, they're ninth layer of hell.
shot.
Usurers
No
are the worst.
shot.
Is that why you got exiled?
Maybe, I don't know. So
It's probably for putting all those popes in hell.
yeah, that
that probably
help.
didn't do him any favors.
And he also had
You make
Plato.
this inferno, Dante?
He also had Plato and Aristotle in limbo because he was like, well, they're the goats. They're awesome.
These
but
dudes
they
are
didn't
sweet.
hear about Christ.
I
How
mean,
are
it's
they
the whole
good?
reason
they
why
can
like,
be
Virgil's showing him around because he's like, "Oh, you're so fucking cool," and it's like, "Yeah, but sorry, I have to be like, I have to show you around on this place."
I like
I'm
the-
going
where
to
does-
hell."
I like that
Where
they-
does Gerdna Gahad Shada come into this?
Oh, he's
I
probably.
like that the first
9.
people they put into purgatory, they were like, we'll do philosophers and then like probably dead babies.
Yeah.
And the ones that don't get
That makes
we'll
sense.
throw
But
them in there
Not
too.
bad.
But then the Pope
Baptized.
deleted deleted all those guys.
Oh, he deleted them?
Well,
deleted-
there's
well,
well,
out of
he went up
limbo.
on. Well, he was like, "There's no limbo anymore," and then everyone's like, "What happened to the dead babies?"
They
and you
went
could see
to
him.
hell.
You could see him dragging all of those baby files into the trash, and then they're like, at least like the next pope, we're gonna be able to grab those and pull them back out." But then he cleared the trash can.
Yeah,
I was like,
different
The
scene in
recycle
fucking.
the recycle bin, the hard
in.
drive of hell.
Where's Anung on Rama? I'm done with this.
Yeah.
It was tough because the moment that the Pope says that's true, and then the Pope says if he comes back, you can't be like that Pope was wrong. You're like, no, another divination. God brought back purgatory, and he's like, "Are the babies still there?" It's like, "No, clean slate,
No,
new save,
those babies are in hell. Top layer,
top layer."
but they're there,
Deleted scene.
and that's also the same
Conclave.
time when they were at.
That's a conclave deleted scene.
This was the same time the limbo was invented, because before that they were like, well, what? There's just hell and heaven, and then they were like, well, all these merchants are going to hell, so they were like, well, I might as well just like keep all my money. So they were like, well, no, if you give it to the church and pray a lot, though, you could probably get to heaven somehow.
It makes it way better if there's like, if there's paths for like advancing your career in hell, where it's like, all right, I can't do anything about this. This sucks.
you become
It's like
a devil.
LinkedIn, where it's like open for heaven instead of open for work. You have an open for heaven little circle around you.
There's straight up all these merchant wills
game.
that are like, I'm leaving 10,000 florins so that once a month they will do a mass in my honor for the next 15 years.
There's a lot of floor.
Dude,
Yeah, dude, they were usurious
How
as
do you
fuck.
make a cathedral that looks that baller without a lot of florins?
Yeah.
Or whatever the fuck you
It's
said.
true.
too many florins, honestly. I think like also imagine how fucking baller it would be to have a mass done in your honor. You're like,
do that every
we're
day.
doing the whole God
Back
worship
then it was
thing,
like
but
30 dudes.
Go to the gym.
yeah, that's probably like
Do my own math.
biggest
my own
mass
honor.
was like
And like
a couple
back,
hundred people.
Back
Yeah.
then, it was like one guy speaking in Latin to 30 people who didn't know what he was saying.
Occasionally,
They're like, yeah, priest.
in Domine Patria, Marco Corelli, and then they'd hear like, I know that guy.
and everyone cheered, right?
my dad.
They wouldn't do a mass for my dad. He would leave all his money to his dogs.
And they would.
None to his.
And then they would eat his flesh.
Thank you, dear
And his
viewers.
They would create a biological mass.
my
and clone
dad-
Gray.
Yeah. He is a biological mass. Nice way of saying turd. Yeah, he's
That's also that guy from Apocalypse Now that you're
He was
seeing floating
Gracie
right here.
Kurtz.
Yeah. And he's way cooler, though.
This is a family podcast chat.
A family affair.
I like talking to the chat. Even that's
not
something
live.
I've picked up from my students that I just say like, "Come on, chat." And like,
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They absolutely hate it.
That would be-
They're like, "That's not even how you use it."
That
And
would-
I'm like, "Did I not just use it that way?" And they're like, "Yeah, but that's not right."
Are you calling your students the chat?
I say that sometimes.
You know what would
I'm
be
like,
crazy?
"Come on, chat, let's lock in," and they'll be like, "Stop."
You know what would be crazy? If someone made that joke in the first episode already.
no,
Was it me?
I think it was Jack.
The thing is,
I watched it.
No, that
It
was.
was me.
I-
It was me.
if I want to pull that back truly, it was Tripp saying, "Chat is this? What does the chat feel about this?" And I still remember trying to quickly go off of that because I thought it was. But now that I have a shot of Jameson in me, it's a lot funnier.
now that there's a real sort of like a comedy forger, some sort of masterwork comedy guy.
So, what is hell waiting for in down
Yeah, why don't they just like, hey, man,
cheaper rent prices.
Hellboy, you cannot open
Hellboy
gates yet.
coming back? Gonna give
We are
them that?
not ready.
they're really looking
They
forward
tried to do some Lebensraum on Earth.
They're looking forward to global
That
climate
would be
change.
awesome.
Like,
It's like we don't have enough people.
That's
we don't have enough room.
It's
Isn't
been
that
400
basically what
degrees.
Revelation is, right? Like, or they're like,
Hell's
no,
overflowed.
hell's empty. All the sinners are here. You know what I mean?
I would go back. That's when I would go to hell. Start buying up all the property.
Buying up all the when it's cheap.
Everybody wants to come
Gonna
home
re-
and be like,
Gonna
yeah, $3 grand a
all
month.
of hell.
I love the idea that you're coming into hell and you're like, this, like obviously it's a fixer upper, but like in 10 years,
You get a
like,
Whole Foods in here.
this is gonna be Chipotle right there, Whole Foods right there. I just see I just see like a lot of potential in this development.
They're gentrifying hell.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in high school, I had a friend, we were talking about, the afterlife, and he was like, I don't believe in God. And if he's real, I want to go to hell. And I was like, explain. And he was like, well, Christian God does a lot of fucked up shit, and he gave me that argument. I'm like, I buy that. But he's like, and if you think about it, he's the infinitely powerful. And the devil is not infinitely powerful. So if we get enough people in hell that are kind of chill, eventually we can take over the place and just do whatever we want.
The true revolutionary.
And I was like, I get it. But what about the meat hooks?
Yeah, what about those
What about the
tongs,
sulfur? What about the pitchforks, right?
Hard to
Tongs in your bum.
it's hard to rise up when you're just like being tortured for eternity.
Yeah.
Like your mind is on other things, I assume.
Also, eventually, you'll get some dudes that are like actually going to hell, and they're like, I'm not even trying to overthrow this place. I think
love it here.
I think what they got going on is pretty sick.
Do you imagine getting tortured and some guy being like, you got time to take a peek at our pamphlets?
I'm CEO of...
Join the revolution.
And he'd be like, nah, dude, I got a great thing. I just got a new pitchfork. You see all the fucking prongs on this? Look at how red hot it is all the time.
I love that there was an era where that was the most intimidating weapon.
Everyone was like,
They were like, what's the scariest
Getting
thing you
poked
could give somebody?
one time, not so good. 2 times, pretty bad. 3 fucking
Oh.
pokes.
Could you imagine?
Oh,
Like, it had to have been, I can think of, an Iron Maiden, like I can think of a lot of stuff without even trying.
that'd be way worse. Yeah.
Yeah. It would be like one of those boxes from Doom where you put your hand, Dune, where you put your hand in it, but for your
Gom
wiener.
Jabbar.
The gom, yeah,
The gom fucking.
brass
Yeah, so they
bowl.
come at you with one of those things, and it's also like a vacuum, so it sucks your genitals into one of those.
So like a small box.
I mean, they would have small versions.
depends.
I think not for me though, for
okay,
Wyatt.
I'm thinking that, but also like it's one where it like dips you into it in and out because like it'll like take you out because the big thing too is like if you're
being
just you're just being dunked in a big Gom Jabbar. I think that would be pretty cool.
And I can explain that to somebody who's only ever heard of who's intimidated by the pitchfork.
Guys, recall the threat of the Gom Jabbar is just that it inflicts pain. She was gonna kill him if he yelped in pain.
Yeah.
So it doesn't kill you or anything. It just inflicts random pain.
already
I
dead.
thought it was just if he took his hand out of the box. Like I was hoping that he was just gonna be like, "Oh, ow, oh, God."
But I'm still locked in. I still got my finger in there.
It's in. Oh, it hurts. It's in.
Well, like in the
Oh, fear. It's
you know what else
mind
is
killer.
they had the Inquisition before the pitchfork thing too, and they did the worst things you can imagine to people.
Yeah, you know what is? You know
I think
what?
the Inquisition people were like kind of mad that they were like, okay, they didn't use a single one of our fucking things.
You know what's worse than
Their
pitchforks?
depiction of hell.
You know what I can think of as worse? Cauldrons. Big old cauldron
Right, that would-
full
that
of
would suck.
like boiling,
We're just boiling people.
boiling stuff. That's
would hurt.
bad.
Like the brass bowl.
Bad news. Yeah, no, I'm thinking just cauldrons. Like you
with
see
lead.
witches do.
Hot
Yeah.
lead.
Oh, God.
Get
Bad
made
news.
into a stew.
I like that they still use very earth-based punishments. Like,
Yeah.
we're gonna put someone on the rack.
I just yeah,
That looks pretty bad.
I love that. Like they just didn't have.
They can't think of anything
It's better. They're like, man, the humans do this really well.
Yeah, and then there are for the most part it's that, and then you have dudes like Hieronymus Bosch who is like, I got
I got an idea.
I think I know what hell can look like.
Yeah, I'm like, I see that. I'm like, yeah,
The
this
fucking
is
realm
better
of
than I fucking
chaos,
see.
brother.
Yeah.
The warp.
Do you know that's like it's a triptych, so it closes, and on the outside I think is like the heavenly sphere. I love the idea that he made the triptych so he could hide what he was drawing inside. Because he had to draw for kings. It's like, oh, Hieronymus, what are you working? Nothing, it's heaven.
a big painting. Don't open it.
It's not porn.
I'm just drawing something it's real heavenly. I got Jesus up here. It's like, what's inside of it?
The funniest
Not
part
ready
would be
yet.
like if like his wife came by and then like and she's like, what the fuck is this? And it's like, oh, it's I don't know, depiction of a lot of things going on.
It's not just hell. I do other parts.
It's also like maybe metaphorical. Who knows that it's literal? Who knows the sex is actually happening?
The heaven part is also so fucking horrible looking that you're like, is this your ceiling, Hieronymus?
He's just everywhere he looks is just like horrid beings.
Seriously, I think this is the best that I could be.
I've gotten used to it. My girlfriend has a entire like wall mural that is the Hieronymus Bosch, like heaven, hell.
awesome.
And it is really cool. It's like it like once you look at it like really drunk, you're like, this is kind of sweet.
It is sweet.
When's she gonna be on the pod?
No, I don't know. Never. She's probably listening to this.
I need at least one 6-star believer on here at some point.
Oh yeah, she'll definitely bag you up on that. It's just a matter of
You know who we should get on here? Sorry, I totally interrupted.
No, go for
Mike
it.
Mignola.
Yeah,
I'll
good
talk
idea.
to him.
Dude, Mike Mignola's sitting here,
you're out there,
Connor
friend.
eating pizza. And
I was thinking John Favreau, one of those Pod Save America guys.
oh yeah.
Johns.
Yeah.
Love to get the Pod Johns
good.
on. Talk to
I
comics
feel like
about
they'd be
them.
interested.
Is,
you know?
will we get the John Favreau that's on one of the Pod Johns, the John Favreau that directs Star Wars?
Yeah.
and then,
John Favreau.
let
And
them
then we'll get him and be
have a
like,
talk.
yo,
Is that that's not the same guy?
No.
Is that the guy that did Chef?
it is. It is.
That was a
It's
good
Chef
movie.
from Chef.
Chef
If you're listening,
Mandalorian.
John Favreau, 1 star out of 0.
Oh,
That's good.
That's
That's,
a zero.
That's
As
a
good
watch.
as you can get.
That's a boom. That's practically a
thing.
boom.
That's 5 booms.
5
Yeah.
booms?
Do you know any of his people?
we get contacts with them.
I'll work on it.
We're podcast, so yeah,
Try
obviously. You know.
John Favreau at gmail.com.
That's a great
And then do the one with his birthday.
Robert Downey knows him probably because they did that movie together.
Yeah.
Shit.
I know
Do
any-
you
I will
know-
say-
Do you know? Does anyone know any of the
I listened to the Russo brothers podcast, like the Pizza Time podcast, and I'm not gonna go into that.
Pizzagate?
Are
But
they
like all I
interesting
know,
guys?
it's called like Pizza School, and it gets like I hate to say it gets comparable views to hypothetically another podcast that we did before. Like it's like really pathetic. Like they're bringing on like, and it's getting like I don't know, it breaks like 1,000 occasionally, and I'm like, oh no.
Can I run an idea for something? This is not comic related, but it is somewhat hell related. It's all right.
Then go on.
All right.
All right.
You guys know the games Heads Up, 7 Up? Mm-hmm. All right. You know how like everybody cheats by looking at people's feet?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm sure you did.
I didn't.
Okay. With a one
I think
honest.
once.
So in the 70s, you could listen to people's corduroys.
That's a dang.
They would just go,
That's wild.
and you knew.
That's pretty
Yeah.
funny.
So
This is your Colonel Kurtz monologue. Like,
If I had
In the
5,000 people wearing corduroys.
Marlon Brand don't.
yeah. So my thought is, you could do blindfolds, but that's going to take a long time. And kids can just
Right.
lift the blindfold as well. What you need is like a snowshoe projector device that will just project horrors beyond human comprehension in an area outside your feet.
Immediate.
So the second they see it, they close their eyes out of fear. So then
Or
you
they die.
It's like you're wearing shoes
Or
that
they
are made of
die.
a color
Do
that
you do
doesn't
that
exist.
in hell? I like the idea that they're just running out of shit, and so like
we're playing
you,
Heads Up 7 Up.
you
Get the
come-
shoes on.
You come down to hell, and like you're on the week where they're just like, oh fuck, like evil shoes heads up 7 Up.
What would you call that game?
That's a good Hell 7 heads down.
Heads down,
Six
up.
down.
Heads down, eyes closed.
You have to, instead of 7,
down, suck me.
Oh, heads up, 666 down.
just
That's better.
stole my joke.
Yeah. Oh, did I? I'm sorry.
Cool
I-
game.
Next week,
He did say it louder.
Jack, you have to steal something Wyatt said.
Yeah.
And then we'll just
That'll be.
on this
We'll just
line.
find the next people after that.
That can be our
Shame.
thing. We just steal. from
Continue,
you.
we're going to take
Yeah, we'll
turns
just steal
every week
jokes. Yeah,
stealing
that's our whole
jokes.
thing. So yeah, I think that could be a good way. Like
Good.
for example, if you're a teacher who's all about fairness, you strap all the kids into the horror shoes and then you play.
You can't just
okay,
put them
actually,
on.
I think the
you
thing
have to
is-
strap them
the
in.
thing is,
Raining
why-
outside the
They're
teacher's like,
now
I gotta
all-
keep them entertained somehow.
They're now all also wearing the same type of shoes.
Yeah, well, they're not the same shoes. It's like a snowshoe projector device.
Yeah, no, but they're all wearing. Oh, but it's not on their shoes.
No, it's like you
Yeah.
step into snowshoes.
Okay, yeah.
It's like that, except you step into the projector.
Hold on,
and you
hold
just
on.
got yeah
I thought of something.
Okay, let's
A
hear it.
6-star system.
to rate.
Are we
these
thinking
shoes.
about things that happen in hell?
Yes.
People
Yeah.
just explain 6-star
hell.
systems to you.
6-star system.
It's only recording
What
the
if-
6-star system.
what
with
if
nails
this-
on a chalkboard?
It's the 666 star system.
What if this is hell? Tripp is the devil, and he's just slow burning us into hell as we.
And you guys think you're adults, but you're really those babies
No.
who didn't get baptized.
No, it's the worst form of purgatory imaginable.
But on the
Kind
topic
of fun, but it sucks in a lot of other ways.
on the topic of ratings, before we should forget, we should probably rate Hellboy: Right Hand of Doom.
Fair.
The right hand.
We want to go through.
Yeah, I'll get us started. 5 stars out of 6 because of the vibes. I love the vibes of Hellboy.
I would say that if you're not a Hellboy fan, this isn't the comic to start with. That being said, for any fans of like it's that top tier supernatural gothic horror, if you like Dave Stewart doing colors, pick it up.
I would say that a system of rating is like a system of power. And
Oh no!
every system of rating has an associated system of knowledge, so that we could call it something like a regime of truth, or perhaps a thought regime. So I thought that I would apply a thought regime to each comic in turn.
How long is this going to take?
It's a couple paragraphs.
It'll go on.
No shot.
We begin
have
our
a
story
sponsor?
in a year of intense unrest for the world over, 1954. That's after the pancake scenario. The Korean War had just finished. The Vietnamese Communist Party had just won, successfully expelling the French army with their victory at Dien Bien Phu.
Terrible time.
It is in this turmoil that Hellboy enters the fray. Hellboy is a story that is as much about hope as it is apocalypse. His rejection of his destiny is an act of radical optimism in defiance of the webs of destiny. 1954 also brought the renowned Catholic Marxist philosopher and East German dissident Ernst Bloch into the sphere of public debate. The machinations of Ernst Bloch in his seminal work, The Principle of Hope, are a perfect place to begin an investigation of an anti-heroic, devilish angel like Hellboy. Like the young Marx, who Ernst Bloch investigates in his first volume of Principle, every one of Hellboy's experiences is heightened by youthful exuberance. To quote, the rocks could not be sharper than my sensibility, and art itself could not match Jenny's beauty. Every metamorphosis is partly a swan song and partly the overture to a great new poem, which, in a medley of blurred thought, brilliant colors, is still struggling to emerge as a form. Is this not similar to Hellboy's experience eating pancakes? Every act of his young existence is both swan song and overture, profound discovery and rejection of fate. I'll end with Bloch's own words concerning hope. Who are we? Where do we come from? Where are we going? What are we waiting for? What awaits us? Many only feel confused. The ground shakes. They do not know why and with what. Theirs is a state of anxiety. It becomes more definite than it is fear. Once a man traveled far and wide to learn fear. In the time that has just passed, it came easier and closer. The art was mastered in a terrible fashion. But now that the creators of fear have been dealt with, a feeling that suits us better is overdue. Hope.
That was amazing.
6 out of 10.
So, yeah, I'd give it a boom. I'd give it a boomer.
Oh,
Give it 2 booms.
well, speaking of that, I give it 4. Boom, 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 boom. Speaking of
Out of 5 or
Speaking of
6?
Ernst Boom.
Speaking of
whatever his
Ernst
name
Boomingham,
Is that a 5?
I don't know.
4 booms in general.
That was
booms.
great, Wyatt. No one's ever put this much work into something.
Into anything
So
done on this podcast.
Something so that's awesome. I hope you do that every week.
No, I'm planning on it. I'm
Feel him
counting on
working
it.
up to it. Yeah. I'll give it 4 stars out of 6 stars. I like a lot of it, and I love the art. For me, as a comic reader, it does feel a little lacking in like things I like about comics, like considering story and like
Overall
more
structure.
intense, like character elements than just the scraps that we get for Hellboy. But as a work of art, I think it is extremely competent and really nice to look at.
Well said.
Abby?
I would give it a 4 out of 6 as well.
Everyone's using the 6-star rating. This is awesome.
This might be hell.
Reinforce the 6
And
star.
you're caught between the 6-star, the binary, or the thought regime.
Or the boom.
booms.
This is an operating table, and I'm the surgeon.
Is this
Gray?
All right, Mr. Apocalypse now.
Mr. Colonel Kurtz?
The problem with the 6-star system is if you say 4 of 6, It's really 2 of 3.
Yep, that's right. Wow. Go get him, get him. Keep going.
That's pretty good.
I think that is 2/3.
No, I'm not.
No,
I'm not giving.
It's like a Likert scale. It's not directly number valued.
I would consider it kind of like a 5-star scale, except the extra 6 stars, like, I really highly rate this. Like 5 stars, I'm like, yeah, that's really good. But with the 6 star, I'm just like, that's like over the top. Like
5 out of 6 is like Ernst Bloch. 6 out of 6 is Marx himself. You know,
You could do like 4
why go to the
3.
derivative when you could just read the
right to the
original?
Yeah,
Four.
why not 4 out of 3?
Because it's a Likert
4
scale.
out of 3.
Oh, yeah. Keep using that thing that everybody knows about.
Yeah.
I was gonna
If you
say,
don't know what it is, feel free to Google it.
I've got a tattoo. Likert scale.
No, wait. No,
Left leg,
Left leg.
upper thigh.
Hell yeah! All right, what are we talking, Mr. Binary Man?
I'm gonna give it a 1.
Nice.
Best rating
That's
possible.
solid.
That's
Yeah.
very high praise.
Yeah.
I kind of like that system. It's like literally it atomizes to the point.
Recommend.
Should you or should you not read this thing?
Yeah.
I'm thinking like next week. I don't want to spoil,
You're gonna do differences,
but I am gonna spoil. Next week, the closer to the end of pi you get, the better.
Oh, dang!
just gonna.
Yeah.
It's hard to determine.
I'll give it a
bad
3.
grade.
In all fairness, there is infinitely good. Like something could be like,
Oh yeah,
infinitely
best
good.
ever.
Yeah,
Or 3.
or 3.
Yeah.
Sucks ass.
So are you gonna memorize the digits of pi for us?
Just the first 3.
Couple.
The first 3.
Probably like the first 6.
We're reading a really
First
I know I'm not gonna need to use a lot more than 3.
3 point something.
Yeah.
Something.
3.14159
out of 6.
Last digit is 5 though, so write
and-
that down.
Dear viewer, if you want to rate this comic, rate it in the comments out of 6, or out of a pi, or out of binary, or out of booms.
Also, if you guys know,
or write a soliloquy.
Or you could, of course, find some form of critical analysis that you could apply. Hopefully, in a unique one each week. You know.
also, if anybody knows any of Robert Downey Jr.'s people, or Jon Favreau's, I guess,
John-
right? Would be good.
I like the idea that we get Jon Favreau on this, but we're really disappointed.
And we just talk over him the whole time.
We're just like, no, but like, what if?
And John Favreau's sitting there dumbfounded as we talk about his 6-star system. He's like, what the fuck?
Or you
And then-
get to him through Robert Downey Jr. because that's the right.
Hey, Robert Downey Jr. Be like, hey, Mr. Jr., can you give me Jon Favreau's phone number?
Robert Downey Jr. is also off camera because we don't have enough speeds.
It'd be hilarious if we had Obama on. We're like, yo, Favreau used to write speeches for you, right?
You got his number, Mr. President?
I like the idea that there's no like pinnacle. We just belittle every other person that we have on the phone. We're just like, can you get us into this other person? And they're like, yeah, yes, man.
We should get an Iron Man mask for next time.
Ooh,
Oh.
yeah. He
Or
loves
Doctor
Iron
Doom.
Man.
He is Doctor Doom.
He is
Or
Doctor
Doom
Doom,
Man.
man.
And
Or
have
Doomsday.
him on.
Oh, I could do
Doomsday.
I
That
could
might
do
be
a
too many
little
spikes.
preview of what we're reading next week.
Ooh.
If we've decided, I don't want to decide for us, but I think it would be fun.
Once it's on camera, it's decided.
Okay, I'm pulling a fucking. I don't know. I haven't seen other recommendations. This isn't binding.
I'm fine with anything but the Cosmic Ghost Rider.
No, that's what we're reading.
And
All right, imagine this. All right, imagine
One man.
all right, imagine
one rider.
Imagine this.
motorcycle.
You know the Ghost Rider, Nick Cage, or whatever the. It's Cage's perfect name, because he's really caged by his powers.
Because
But,
despite all his rage,
yeah.
you know the rest.
yeah.
Still.
Imagine Ghost Rider gives up his powers. Imagine Thanos kills everybody except Frank Castle and leaves him on Earth, and then he kills Frank Castle dies of starvation.
Is this the one where Frank Castle becomes an angel?
No, Frank Castle becomes
Punisher?
Ghost Rider, and then
Frank Castle, the Punisher.
Yeah.
the Punisher becomes the Ghost Rider, and then he becomes the Herald of
Rider
Galactus.
or writer?
Is this like the plot and you're spoiling it?
Is this a dream?
It's a real. It's a
No,
Is this a comic where
Great
Ghost Rider
writer,
looks
like
at the
the
Punisher and
90s
he's
show.
like, "You've done nothing
Oh,
wrong."
no, I
Knight
wish.
Rider. All right.
Frank
Okay,
Castle.
that too.
Frank Castle gets killed by Thanos and goes to hell. And
You're
Mephisto
spoiling it.
says,
Oh wait, don't no. Actually, leave that last part.
0
for
stars.
the
Yeah,
next.
so I guess you won't
Yeah.
have to watch next week.
and also read.
setup.
Or
That's
do
the-
watch, because we're going to pull a psych.
I mean, that's
Maybe
like
we won't read this at all.
Maybe we'll read the Spider-Man where Mary Jane gets cancer.
Yeah,
one
because
where
of
she
his
bangs
radioactive
Norman
semen.
Osborn.
See, ooh. In these boxes, there's either the one where Mary Jane gets cancer because of Spider-Man's radioactive semen, the one where Punisher becomes Ghost Rider, or Dog Welder. Dog Welder.
Yeah, we've read too many good
Vote
comics.
in the comments.
that
I
was my
guess.
thought with
We've
Cosmic
read
Ghost.
too many good comics in a row.
We're always reading good stuff. Cosmic
there
Ghost
Bible
Rider.
I like Cosmic.
There are.
We should read Bible.
Art
comics.
Crumb?
There, it's the action Bible.
Bibles go to
Yeah,
that.
the action Bible
Yeah.
fucks.
Robert Art Crumb did.
No, I mean Indian Bible comics,
Like
Oh, like Vishnu.
like Hinduism.
that
Oh,
would be,
okay.
there is what's that?
1820.
Bhagavad Gita?
No, yeah.
The Bhagavad
Grant Morrison
Gita.
did
Grant
one.
Morrison did one that's actually sick as hell. That would be
it's-
cool.
I
It's
don't-
cool.
There's
How
cool
about a
parts of
Muslim
it.
one? Just kidding, guys.
Oh,
Thank God you're not on camera, Kurtz.
but I
Great showing us his drawing of Muhammad from behind the camera. His comic book stylized.
Oh my
Note
God.
the beard.
Wow, he's got really sharp jawline.
Wow, it's such a well manicured beard.
So many wives.
Who's
Muhammad also describing
Yeah,
him.
right.
Can you not speak his description?
that would be wild. So, no thinking.
Cut it before we
All right, thanks everybody.